What's up, everybody? This is going to be kind of a behind-the-scenes look at or an explanation of why there's been a lot of bowling YouTubers taking breaks or talking about quitting over the last couple of years, and since I can definitely understand the sentiment, I want to put everything out on the table and give you kind of a backstage pass to the bowling social media world and explain why so many people are burnt out or are ready to be done with it. Now, I'm also going to just read what I've written here and say everything I want to say and nothing I don't. I don't want this to turn into a ramble fest like normal and leave anything open to misinterpretation or just lose the plot. So I'm sorry if this sounds or seems impersonal. It's just kind of the way that this has to be. I'm not gonna bitch and moan because I'm mad though. I mean, there's some real talking points to hit and some things that I think are important. So it's not a pity party or searching for support or anything. And going off the rails already. Again, this is just kind of to let you behind the curtain to see what goes on and why people that seemingly get free equipment and have the gravy train and are famous on social media don't really think it's that good of a deal. So if you choose to put something out on social media, you have to have thick skin. So choosing to make videos and then complaining when trolls leave shitty comments, it's kind of stupid and self-inflicted. I mean, it gets to me too, and I've spoken out about it plenty over the last several years. But it typically, whenever I engage with it or try to give it back to them or whatever, it just kind of wastes my time and pisses me off. So some of you might have noticed that I just don't post much on social media anymore. The bowling industry sucks, and so does most of the community online. But if you're sick of it, just do what I'm doing, stay off social media, and don't make videos or just stop bowling completely. I mean, the choice is yours because people on social media have only continued to get worse, and I really don't see that changing anytime soon. So honestly, from my angle, I'm tired of making videos too, and there's several factors there. So I'm going to hit a lot of different things here. I'll try not to, again, I'll try to get through this. I'm not really tired of the actual making of the videos, though. It's just really the schedule and how busy I am keeping up with things. Part of the issue is that I'm a people pleaser. I have a hard time saying no. So the other part is that I genuinely do like putting stuff out there. I'm just getting worn out. I have a regular day job, and despite the nonsense that people think, nobody gets paid to make ball reviews. Best case scenario is you get comped the ball and hopefully given information. Past that, it's up to you to make the rest of the stuff happen. I also do very literally 100% of everything that happens on my channel right now, down to the balls, down to drilling the balls to start. I mean, there's some people that sub out the editing, that sub out even basic stuff like the thumbnail. Just making thumbnails can soak up a lot of time because that's just not, you just don't make a thumbnail. I mean, there's design and paying attention to the algorithm and what people are clicking on and whatever else. So what something like thumbnails, it seems very simple, can take up a lot of time. So I drill all the balls. I do all the filming, even if I'm not the bowler for a particular review. I do all the cutting, the editing, the thumbnails, the uploading, the organization, the slide and graphic stuff, like the ball information, pictures, and the videos. And I answer all the questions myself. I don't have somebody else that kind of does a lot of behind the scenes stuff for me. So between my regular full-time job that pays the bills and the full-time YouTube job that creates them, I don't have much time to do anything else. And that's been my story for 25 years. So even before YouTube, which I've been doing for a little over 10 or 11 years now, I had other jobs taking the time. So I'd love to actually see what free time feels like. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, though. So don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. This isn't like me leading into saying that I'm retiring or something. There's just unlikely to be a ton of extras unless I get on a kick here and there, because there's also problems with certain kinds of content, which we'll talk about later. Social media is a cesspool right now, and it doesn't help that popularity is based on engagement. And the two biggest factors in engagement right now are making people laugh or pissing them off. So meme pages and rage pages are what's popular right now. And what's even worse, it doesn't matter whether it's real or fake. It just, people want to be outraged and get up on their soapbox and scream so badly that they fall for the bait every single time. Like, you've seen some of these pages, especially when it comes to, oh, LeBron is so much better than Jordan. This just proves it, and there's no doubt. And then all of a sudden, you just know that there's going to be a million. It's one of those things where if you see a post and the first thing you want to do is run to the comments, that post has been successful. It's done what it's achieved doing, even if it's lies, even if it's crap, even if it's bait, even if it's whatever else, they've done their job. So, blah, blah, back on rambling. I can't even get on Facebook anymore. I used to spend a lot of my time scrolling to keep up with stuff. I can't even get on there anymore because a 5-second Google search debunks most of the stuff that's on there, especially from the political direction right now. I don't get political, but too many of you get your political information from Facebook memes, and it shows. I'm friends with people from all sides of the political spectrum, and the stuff that I see is just shocking. Speaking of bait, in the YouTube direction, clickbait is what makes things happen. And I personally continue to shoot myself in the foot to maintain my credibility, and I'm kind of tired of that too. I'm going to keep doing it though, because I hope that I can uphold a certain level of respect, or as much respect exists for a ball reviewer of any caliber, which kind of pisses me off too, because what mostly started ball reviews, speaking of, what mostly started as I search and try to find my place again because I ramble. Thank you, Buck. I know. I'm getting off topic. Thanks. So what mostly started off as knowledgeable people, ball reviews, trying to illustrate and explain ball reaction has kind of devolved into a lot of people just trying to get their 15 minutes of fame or be bowling famous, as I call it. The funny part, though, is that pro shop people are respected. The trade is in general, even though they're actually the ones trying to sell you bowling balls. So regardless of how good and smart, honest, and helpful they are, their livelihood or the success of their business depends on getting money in the register, while the success of a YouTube bowling channel just depends on you watching the video and or buying their merch if they have it. But you actually buying a bowling ball doesn't move the needle at all for a YouTuber. And so I've always thought the accusations of ball reviewers just being mouthpieces for the companies and trying to sell people bowling balls was fairly amusing, because that's just not remotely true. The pro shops are the ones that are truly invested in moving the product. Most content creators also make videos for all the companies now. You have some staffers that are out there, but most content creators also, make review videos for everybody. And while the vast majority of pro shops will sell all companies too, there are a lot out there that you can tell lean significantly one direction or the other. There may or may not be some perks there to selling certain companies. The actual reason that content creators get so excited and hyped up about bowling balls and videos, though, social media in general, is view traffic. Everyone complains about clickbait, but falls for it anyway because it works. And most of the reviewers that use it don't like it and don't want to do it. That's another thing that I don't think a lot of people know. But they're tired of shitty numbers when they don't. So as long as people keep falling for it, they're going to keep doing it. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to continue to take it in the ass from a traffic and ad revenue angle, which just means I'm going to keep dumping in time for little to nothing in return. Now, segueing off of that, I don't promote my sponsors nearly as much as I should, because people that don't get it, or that don't get why I need and want to do it, kind of piss me off. If I didn't have people sending me bowling balls and supporting me from the Bowler's Mart, CoolWick, Turbo, Genesis, Brunswick, and Motive Directions, I would literally not be able to do it. My channel would cease to exist. If you all don't know that I am and have always been a true pro shop guy, I just bashed pro shops, but there's a lot of really good ones out there, but there's a lot of them that, just saying, I worked in a pro shop for this long doesn't really mean anything, unfortunately. But I have always been a true pro shop guy first and foremost, and my only interest is to get you consistent, honest, and reliable information. And if you don't understand that by now, you're never going to get it. And I don't want to take any flack for it anymore. I got in trouble several times, which was really just some gentle warnings or slaps on the hand. They were always very nice about it, but they also naturally wanted to protect their brand and image. But I got talked to a few times for dump trucking SPI balls over the years. And if you don't remember that, just go back and look. The very first Belmo ball, the Timeless, had a ton of hype and a ton of interest. And I gave it a mediocre to negative review. I wasn't impressed, and I said so. I didn't like the Zen Master. I dumped on it, spent 16 minutes destroying the Night Road, and then vocally bashed Reactogloss for a solid year until they finally fixed it. And every single time a ball started out bad, like the TNT or the DNA, I illustrated it and the fixes I had to make to get them to work in detail. The hammer effect, one of the most popular balls on the market since it came out. I don't like it. I said so a million times. So I'm just not going to engage with ignorant dumbass comments anymore. I spend endless hours working on these videos, and if you ask me a question about something I covered in the video, I'm just not going to answer that. Now, sometimes I randomly miss things, like forgetting to put the layout in a video or something. Like there's just like, what was the layout on this ball? And I just start typing, and then I check, and I'm like, oh, I actually forget to put the layout in this one. So if I miss or forget something, it's all good. And I want your questions, because this is what I do. Everybody feels like they're bugging me or whatever, but you're not. This is literally what I do. And you guys ask really good questions the vast majority of the time. And so that's what I want. It's the dumb shit that I don't want. But just watch the whole video before you drop down to the comment section. Because I spend 6 to 8 hours making every review, so you can spend 15 minutes watching it for free. But back to the point, I don't thank my sponsors enough. I don't feature them prominently enough. I don't have a merch line. I don't use clickbait. I don't use all the reviewer tropes in my videos. So, and this is also, people can feel good about my integrity or honesty or whatever. And all that's really done is screw me over, at least from a view and sub count standpoint. There's been a large positive to it that I'll talk about in a minute. Now, I have all kinds of people giving me compliments and wondering why I don't get more traffic. Well, it's because I don't spam my videos all over every group on Facebook. I don't do clickbait. I don't get into sensationalism, trying to sell you a product. I'm just trying to give you information. And I'm also not taking any shots at anybody that does that. Because if I was trying to make this worth it, I'd be doing the same thing. Because on paper, it's an awful deal. I actually had a financial advisor tell me I needed to cut my losses and get the hell out, because the time and resources could be put to much better and more lucrative use. Now, where that really stings, though, is that you can have the best video in the world, but if you don't market or advertise it right, nobody's going to see it. And if you don't market or promote yourself right, you're not going to be able to put yourself in nearly as good a position to do good going forward. So sometimes you have to jump through the hoops and take some things on the chin to get yourself to a position where you can affect change and or be positive and proactive and productive. And there are a lot of not fun compromises that have to be made to make things happen sometimes. And the direction I've chosen is to not reach as far or be as popular, to really double down on my image and how I want to be seen, and most importantly, what I want my community to be. And the proof is in the pudding. I mean, I have the best bowling community on the internet, and that's an absolute fact. I actually had a couple of people outside my community the other weekend at a tournament remark that they were impressed with the quality of people I had around me. So, and that makes all this worth it. Even though I complain about the ball reviewer label, I kind of I've got a bubble that kind of shields me from most of it. And all you have to do is, if you just pull up one of my videos and look at the comment section versus one of the more popular YouTubers and look at their comment section, it's just cancer in everybody else's comment section. And there's most of the time a lot of really intelligent discussion going on in mine. And so I said I didn't want to deal with dumbass comments. So I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm not just whining because I'm not, getting the try. I'll talk about this later, but I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm doing it on purpose. And so that's why I'm not like, pissed or upset or anything here. But while we're talking about this, I don't get the sentiment on qualifications. People hate watching pros and reviews because they're like, oh, well, pros make everything look good. I want to see a regular bowler. Then you show them a regular bowler and then it flips. It's like, oh, well, how am I supposed to tell what the ball is going to do if the person in the video can't throw it the same way twice? It also flips a different way too, because apparently if you're good at throwing a ball, that means that you automatically know everything about ball tech and bowling. And then the comments start coming in like, wait, what's your average? What have you won? Do you bowl professionally? What qualifies you to talk about this stuff? Like, what you're doing. It's like, well, what qualified Phil Jackson to coach basketball? Wasn't that great of a player himself. How about Andy Reid? Like the Chiefs or not, he's undeniably a great coach. He's first for the Eagles and now for Kansas City. And what qualifies Quentin Tarantino to direct movies? I mean, he's not a good actor. All of his bit roles in his movies are more for fun or comic release. He's not a good actor, and all of his bit roles in his movies are for fun or comic relief because he knows he's not a good actor, but he's a fantastic director. But bowlers, for some reason, hyperfixate on an actual bowling resume to determine who is and who isn't qualified to speak on something. I am a pro shop guy. This is what's in my wheelhouse. This is what I'm supposed to know about. Photographers know how to use cameras and know a good deal about them, but they don't build them. Like, they know what they need or want them to do. Then it's up to the people who build the cameras to figure out how to make that happen. Same here. I know bowling balls. I know layouts. I know ball reaction. And unfortunately, like I said before, just saying pro shop guy doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean you know what you're talking about, because there's way too many bad pro shops out there, or people who just do it for a hobby or don't know what they're doing. So I don't really blame people. But just because you're good at throwing them doesn't mean that you know anything about them. And just because you're good at building them doesn't mean that you're any good at throwing them. And not to pick on Schlem Dog Millionaire, because he's one of the coolest dudes in the industry, but Chris Schlemmer, who was the longtime Roto-Grip brand manager, the reason that brand has become as popular as it has over the last decade, he isn't that great of a bowler. He just kind of zings it down the side. He almost has a negative rev rate, and I'm not even sure if he bowls anymore, but man, he knows what he's doing when it comes to running a brand and putting things together. If they'd have just looked at his bowling average and said, well, you only average 200, what makes you think you know anything about making bowling balls and running a brand? We wouldn't have stuff like the Wrecker, the Haywire, the Idols, the Hustles, the list goes on. Now, I've worked in construction related fields for most of my working life. I work with a lot of engineers and I work with a lot of laborers, and I can tell you that the people building it don't know much about designing it, and vice versa. You take an engineer out and try to have them build what they designed, and they're going to be completely lost. But while the builders can follow the plans to get the building up, they're not going to get you anywhere designing the thing. So basically what people are saying when it comes to bowling is, well, if you're not even good at putting the building up, why would I let you design it? Now, obviously, this isn't 100% true across the board, but my background made it virtually impossible for me to compete at a higher level in bowling. Me being a successful tournament-winning bowler wasn't ever in the cards, but that's not the side that my head is predisposed to succeeding on anyway. Rick Benoit is widely considered to be the smartest bowling guy on the planet, and he never succeeded as a bowler. I don't think he's bowled for score in decades. Now, I bowled, for a little background on me, I bowled for a couple of years when I was 11 or 12, and then I took a break until I graduated high school and picked it back up the following year. I didn't bowl in college, so I missed the experience, the networking, the coaching, the competition, and that now is a huge part of bowler development and larger success in the industry. So if you bowl in college, even if you don't go on to compete in the pros, you're probably going to land somewhere in the industry, either as a rep or at one of the companies or coach or whatever else. I was bowling a lot, but it was mostly locally, and I was in the pro shop so much that the guy there gave me a job. Now, anyone that's ever worked in a pro shop knows what that means. It means when other people are bowling, you're working. So getting into pro shop work meant that I bowled less and definitely missed tournaments, because that was part of the gig. I worked so that the boss could go bowl the tournaments. Now, I lightly touched on my schedule earlier, but since the age of 19, I'm going to be 44 here in a couple months for reference, I've worked 70 plus hours a week in one way or another for 90 to 95% of that time. In my early 20s, I had as many as three jobs at a time. I was working nights and doing school during the day. I went to school for heating and air. And then when I was doing construction inspection, I had almost an entire year. I had a huge Home Depot distribution center job. So that entire year, for like 10 solid months, I was on overtime by Wednesday every single week. And then when I took over as the pro shop manager 11 or 12 years ago, I was working 14-hour days, 5 days a week, with another 10 on Saturday for a solid year, because I was still working my regular job with the pro shop on the side when I took it over. Now, in the middle of all this, I got married. I adopted my wife's daughter. I helped raise her son too, so I gained a family to care for. Then when I went full-time in the pro shop for a couple of years, we almost went bankrupt, because while I saved the guy's shop from having to close, I brought it all the way back and did record numbers for 2 years in a row. He didn't share any of it, so I had to get a real job again. And in the middle of all that, I started doing YouTube, and not knowing or ever expecting that this is where it would end up. But when I was forced to go back to a job that would actually pay the bills, it was traveling full-time. So that made it really difficult to fit YouTube in, let alone anything recreational. I finally have a regular local job, which is cool. And while my schedule now is a lot more under my control, it doesn't mean that I'm doing any less. I also spent over a decade on the city bowling board, managing lane certification, then running tournaments for several years, and through COVID. Now, on top of all that, I hurt my shoulder about 15 to 20 years ago and went back and forth between righty and lefty. If you go back and see old righty videos, and that is actually me, believe it or not. So most of the last 25 years since I got into bowling, I've either been too late to the game, too busy, too broke, or starting over again, injured, whatever else, to have any real success bowling. But I've got to tell you, I'm a humble person. I always downplay things. I think I frustrate people sometimes when they try to compliment me. But I know I'm good in a pro shop, and while I don't know everything and I'm not always right, I'd like to think I've got the following that I do, despite being a nobody that's accomplished relatively little out on the lanes, because I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm talking about, and I try to help people out in any way that I can. But when I get kind of pissy and down on myself, one of my favorite sayings is that I'm really good at making everything work out and making everything work out, making things happen for everybody but me. So when I hear the stuff out there about it must be nice to get free stuff, man, you're lucky. You're only saying nice things about this stuff because the company is paying you. I'm tired of hearing promotions in your videos. Just another reviewer trying to move product. It really pisses me off. I mean, I've taken it up the ass repeatedly to try to ride the fence on doing my sponsors justice and trying to be transparent and honest for the viewers. There's a lot of stuff that goes on that people don't understand or don't know. So it's very difficult trying to get information across that's helpful while also allowing for and considering how people are going to see it and how they're going to receive it, because all the nonsense that's out there and the bad information, it's incredibly difficult when you're trying to learn to sift through and understand what's good information and what's bad information, because everybody's so passionate about delivering it. Or how people have been taught or learned to process bowling information. Hook and back end are two different things. For example, seeing misses in videos doesn't help if they're bad misses or you can't tell what the miss was or why it happened, because most people only see if the ball was left or right of target. And there's a dozen other ways you can miss a shot. People don't understand surface conditions, lane surfaces, so on and so forth. And because of that, I can't completely go a different direction, but I have a hard time letting misinformation or wrong ideas continue. I see everything as gray. There's very few black and white absolutes, especially in bowling, and I'm always looking for the heart or the concept of any matter out there. I've taken a lot of flack for defending string pins, for example. But when you hear people bitching nonstop about the power game, two-handers, and arguing over cheating urethane, cheating reactive, then something comes along that somewhat neuters all of that and puts a premium back on accuracy and shot making. Well, people are still mad because pins aren't supposed to have strings, and they don't carry well. And I'm not actually a fan of string pins. I don't mind them, if I'm being perfectly honest, but pick a lane. It's like those people who either agree or disagree with a political statement or policy, not based on its own merit, but based on which political side says it or backs it, and that doesn't make any sense. Then you see all those gotcha YouTube videos where people make themselves look like idiots because they don't think for themselves. People just decide whether they like or dislike things, whether it's consistent or makes any sense or not. I'm just tired of dumb argument after dumb argument with bowlers. It's like, do you want to be good? Do you want to improve? Do you even want to just have more fun bowling? They don't always. That's why I'm not taking shots at anybody. I'm maybe it sounds like I'm on my soapbox or on my high perch, sitting here and being condescending towards everybody. But they don't all have to be dry, boring, informational, technical videos like mine. That's why the entertainment videos are important too. So we just need butts in seats. And if people have more fun bowling, just let them have fun bowling and then decide how deep they want to get into it. That's why all this stuff is important. But so if you want to be good or improve or just have fun bowling, I don't understand why people hold on to some of the nonsense they hold on to, and why people can't talk or debate without going to the moon about something. Stuff changes in all walks of life, every industry, every sport, every game. So you can either keep bowling or you can quit. And if you're going to keep bowling, just learn to succeed or deal with whatever you have to. So getting to the point, after 25 minutes of rambling, I can write rambling too. Here's the way that the YouTube thing works. I'm going to lay it all out there and tell you exactly what's going on behind the scenes and why things are the way that they are. Most people with review channels started out the way that I did, and your low level staff are paying for everything myself. And again, staffers don't get tons of free stuff. Depending on the level of staffer, some get some small form of credit or like staff bucks that you can buy a couple balls a year with in a bag or something. Or maybe your contract includes one ball from every release, or one ball per release of the single specific brand that you're on staff with. It's like if you're on staff with Ebonite, you might get every Ebonite ball for free, but you're not getting every Brunswick brands, all, every single ball from every single company for free. But a couple comped balls a year is really nothing. And if you're not convinced, I can tell you for a fact that most people, being on staff is more expensive than not. They're getting individual items for cheaper than you are, but it's still a whole lot more expensive than you think. And beyond that, while they're not required to buy everything, they're very strongly encouraged, because after all, as a representative of the company, it's kind of their job to know the equipment, right? So that means that most of them get a couple comps, but buy the vast majority of the releases from most or all the brands under their company umbrella. So even though the products are discounted, they're spending a lot more money overall on bowling equipment every year than they otherwise would if they weren't on staff. Storm, for example, does have incentives. So if you make reviews for the balls, you get Storm bucks basically that you can use to purchase equipment and accessories, so on and so forth. Major, however, the video equipment is on you. The filming, the editing, the drilling, the lineage, the Photoshop, all of the above is on you. And the most you'll ever get from a company to make videos is the ball to make the video with. No one gets paid. Absolutely no one gets paid unless they're a pro that has something in their contract, but that's very few and far between. The companies have certain rules about reviews, but they also don't tell anyone what to say. They send a little synopsis of what the ball is and what it's supposed to be, tech specs, ball and core pictures, etc. So they give you the information and the ball. Everything else is on the reviewer. It's like, well, but you still get free bowling balls. It's like, yeah, after several years, I eventually started to, but you get free money from your job too. All you have to do is show up and work for it, So after the first couple dozen balls, though, you get to the point where, like, yeah, it's fun to throw the new stuff, but I don't need any more bowling balls. I can't throw the ones I have already, and the undrilled ones that I have that I'm staring at right now, they're aging into collector's items. I bought a lot of balls that I had the intention of drilling, but they just kind of sit there because I go through so much stuff that I can't justify, putting holes in another $100 or a couple $100. When I already have 25 balls laying around that I already can't throw. So when you spend hours and hours and hours a week working, product doesn't equal compensation. And that's kind of by design too. I have no problem with that. If you're actually paid to promote something on YouTube, there's some extra boxes you have to check, and you have to advertise in the video that you've been paid to promote that product. A paid promotion also means you're being paid to positively promote something, not review it. So being paid means that there's no, so not being paid. So because the reviewers are not being paid, that means that there's no stipulations on what we say or how we say it. Well, but if you don't say good things about the ball, you won't get them sent to you anymore, and you'll lose your easy money. It'd be really nice to hear a reviewer say a ball sucks every once in a while, to at least fake being honest. Once again, nobody gets paid. Sure, there's ad revenue, but there's also a shitload of expenses. I'll get to that in a minute. And again, it's definitely nice to be able to drill new stuff so often. Nice perk. I'm not saying it's not. Yes, I also definitely need the balls to keep the channel going. Like I said earlier about my sponsors, they're the reason that the channel's still going. No sponsors means no channel. However, I've said this a lot before. My personal opinion about something shouldn't matter. Just because a ball works for me or doesn't work for me doesn't mean it'll work for you, and vice versa. And all I or anyone should be doing is describing the ball reaction, trying to place it, or tell you where it fits and let you make your own mind up. Every time something comes out, people have the same complaints too. Like, stuff's coming out too fast and everything's the same anyway. Okay, so if it's all the same and so redundant, don't you think that the companies would have figured out by now what works and what doesn't, and what sells and what doesn't? So back to it'd be nice to hear a reviewer say a ball sucks thing. You think the companies are so bad at making bowling balls that they just routinely put garbage balls out there? Things are coming out too fast and everything's the same, but they also somehow haven't figured out how to make good equipment consistently. That's, I can't follow that kind of stuff. So for some reason, everyone equates trashing a ball with honesty, and it might be an honest opinion. You know, after all, you wouldn't want to bite the hand that feeds. But just because someone's being honest doesn't mean that they know what they're talking about. And again, it all goes back to opinion not belonging in a review, or at least not a personal opinion without heavy disclaimers. A professional opinion or evaluation is a different story. The next problem is that people see what they want to see rather than what's actually happening. So people can see completely opposite things in the same footage. I saw somebody, like, the new Ethos Solid is like the smoothest, one of the smoothest reactive balls, if not the smoothest I've ever thrown. And somebody was, man, it looks like that ball really flies down lane. No, it really doesn't. But beyond that, they make it obvious that they're only seeing what they want to see. So if people come in to a video expecting to be sold something, then they already have a jaded attitude. And no matter how vanilla the commentary is, they'll swear a reviewer is just a shill that's trying to sell them something. Even though, once again, we get no money. We don't care if you buy the ball. We just want you to watch the video and hit the like button. So that's the only thing that helps us. It's just like the company doesn't care how many views we get. We can get 10,000 views on a video, but if we only sell 5 balls out of it, it's all the same to them as if the video would have gotten 100 views and sold the same 5 balls. Now, on the flip side, somebody could be listening to the hypiest, clickbaitiest, fakest video ever, and because they want to be excited about that particular ball or they want to get hyped up, it's giving them exactly what they want, and they'll swear that it's the most honest video they've ever seen. You know, people will also be really hypocritical too. If you put all strikes in a video, they'll say, well, this is crap. No ball strikes every time. I want to see some misses. So then you put misses in there. And of course it's, well, I don't know, the ball doesn't look very consistent or forgiving and doesn't look like it hits well or something. You know, misses are very hard to give context to. And certain people, once again, only see certain things. Some people just look for misses right or left. They don't see speed misses or rev misses, angular rotation misses. So when I'm building the regular part of the review, I just try to represent the ball reaction as well as I can. If it, you know, if I launch something out the window and it hangs, well, every ball is going to do that. But there's a certain range. It's like if a ball consistently is slow getting back up the hill, then I'll make sure to illustrate that. Or if it really jumps, if I get it inside consistently, because everything, if you miss bad enough, no ball is going to save everything. It's like out golfing. If you slide, you get the best balls and the best club in the world. If you slice the ball, it's still going to do that, you know. But moving on from that, there's things about YouTube and the almighty algorithm that people don't understand. YouTube favors people basically making the same video every time with slight variations, because the more diverse your content is, the more it fractures your user or viewer base, and the more it damages your channel because of the way that YouTube evaluates content. It's really fascinating to listen to Mr. Beast, for example, talk about the algorithm. I've always been one to try to rise to viewer requests because I'm not trying to run a business. I'm trying to help you understand ball reaction of the bowling balls. I want to see this or that or this angle or different bowler or different lane conditions, so on and so forth. The problem is that YouTube judges a video's performance in the first 24 to 48 hours against your subscriber base to see if it should further promote that video or not. Now, if you have a very narrow content range, the people that subscribe to you are more likely to watch every video. But if it's more diverse, again, they'll be more selective with what they watch. Plus, the longer your channel is active, mine's over 10 years old now, you eventually lose people either to moving on, disinterest, found something newer and fresher, etc. It happens all the time. The problem is that most people don't unsubscribe. They may still want to see some videos occasionally if they're in the mood for it, but won't watch most of them, or some stop watching completely but remain subscribed because they think it's helping your numbers. Well, it isn't. It's actually the opposite. I have almost 30,000 subs, and YouTube largely judges a video's success comparing initial views and interest against the channel sub count. So of those 30,000, I might only have like 10,000 active subs right now. So if I get 5,000 views in the first day, that's a very successful video, but YouTube sees 5,000 views against my entire sub count, which makes it look less attractive. If it thinks, wow, if most of the people subscribe to this channel don't even want to watch the video, then why would we promote it to anyone else so you get less exposure? So contributing to this problem is, again, diverse content. People want to see more bowlers, so I got more bowlers, but now I have people subscribing and only watching certain bowlers. Some people just want to watch me. Some just want to see Angel, Jessy, Zach, Tobias individually, and they won't watch anything else. It then gets broken down even further because some people just want to watch Storm videos. Some people just want to see Motive, B7, and even further than that, some people just want to watch Storm specific videos. So just the brand Storm, not the umbrella Storm. Or they just want roto grip specific videos, or just hammer videos or track videos or whatever. So even though I still have a growing sub base and people that are active, I have a lot of people that are only active for specific videos. You know, I only get one ball per release from Motive and Brunswick, track and hammer specifically. I couldn't keep up with all the B7 releases, unfortunately, so I backed off. SPI naturally doesn't send me stuff anymore because I'm not on staff. And Zach and Tobias are staffers, so they're ordering the balls, so that's why it's only them in the SPI videos. I'm going to drill most of the Motive stuff, and then Angel, Jessy, and I kind of split the B7 stuff. But if you're only watching one out of every 10 or 15 videos I upload, technically that's very bad for the channel. I understand. I'm not going to make you. I subscribe to people and don't watch every video they put out either, and especially if you're subscribed to a bunch of different channels. Yeah, I'm lagging behind. There's some people that have put up videos 2 weeks ago that I still want to watch, but just haven't gotten around to it. It is what it is. So again, I'm not whining about anything. I'm just explaining the way that it works. So I've known this all for a while now, and I've continued to do it anyway. So this isn't something I figured out yesterday, and now I'm bitching at you about it. I've chosen to continue to do this despite the issues it's causing, because again, I'm not trying to make a business out of this. However, the fewer the views I get, the less YouTube recommends my content, which means it's harder to find. This is why so many other channels have resorted to clickbait and sensationalism and drama, because even if they're making legit, honest, straightforward, informational, helpful, unbiased videos, people still have to be drawn to it, and the people are easier to hook than they think that they are. It doesn't matter if you make the best videos out there. Again, if you can't get people to click, they won't, and it'll kind of all be for nothing. But as soon as you do what you need to get people to do, as soon as you do what you have to do to get people to click, then they're mad. You hate clickbait, but you always fall for it, but you won't click on a normal looking video. The big issue is that making videos is a lot of time and expense, and even if you're getting the equipment for free, you still have to factor everything else into it. I mean, inserts, slugs or interchangeables, paying for drilling, buying your own press, all the tools and supplies that come along with that, cameras, microphones, a computer that can handle the editing and render a video in less than 2 hours, gas, lineage, and that's before we get to time. It takes hours and hours to drill, travel, film, download, edit, and finally produce a video. Even if you're really good at it and have it really streamlined, or even if it's really basic, it still takes a long time. Then when we dare to try to get sponsors or run ads on the videos, either by promoting those sponsors or by monetizing the channel and running actual commercials or advertisements so we can get some kind of ad revenue, start a merch line, so on and so forth, that's also a problem. I understand people hate advertising. I get it. I'm right there with you. I pay for YouTube Premium. I pay for no commercials on Hulu and Netflix or whatever. But it's a necessary evil. So I'm sorry. I don't blame you for still being very frustrated with it. However, what does actually piss me off is when people go to the moon over any or all the above about a video that they get to watch for free, or when they complain about watching and about not having 4 bowlers throwing 8 balls with different layouts and surfaces on 5 different patterns and 3 different centers or whatever people want. But the thing is, they wouldn't do it themselves if they were in the same situation. That's the point that really gets me about the whole deal. You wouldn't spend the majority of your free time and money making videos for no compensation, or at the very least, you'd want your expenses covered, but they expect us to slave away on our own time and our own dime, and then on top of it, try to play hardball with earning their view. YouTube also likes frequency and consistency, so you're either in or you're out. You can't just put up a video here and there and expect to make any progress. If you're not putting up a video at least every other day, you're falling behind, and if you consistently release videos on specific days at specific times, so people know when they're coming, that's even better. But the bowling video thing isn't really set up for that. It can be with a lot of effort, but If you put up fluff videos that nobody wants to watch just to stay on your schedule, they're not going to be popular, and that could be even worse than not putting something out at all. So if I pitched you the YouTube job, I said, hey, you want to produce content for us? It'll be between 30 and 50 hours a week, depending on product releases. Evenings, weekends, and holidays are required, though it can be somewhat flexible if needed, and it's about 75% work from home. We'll provide you one ball per release for the videos, but you provide your own transportation, filming and editing equipment and resources, Photoshop, editing software, copyright-free music, etc. You also get no per diem or reimbursement for drilling expenses, gas, lineage, or any other costs associated with advertising our product, though any and all revenue gained through advertisement, memberships, or a merch line are, of course, yours to keep. So what do you think? Most people would blink and wonder what they missed. Like, I'm working a full-time job. I have to pay for my own tools, my own transportation, my own expenses from top to bottom throughout the entire process. And all I get in return is the ball for the video, even, unless I really hump it on trying to create some kind of revenue stream myself. Now, I can say that I actually do, to be honest, technically profit from making videos. I've been in the black for a couple of years now, but everything factored in, benefits and perks, ad revenue, expenses, I make about $3 to $5 an hour depending on the month, because some months pay more in ad revenue than others. That's the number that really horrified the financial guy. Now, because there's enough there to show up on taxes, YouTube is technically a business for me, and I do get to write a lot of things off. But my tax guy also continues to remind me that if I fall out of the black, it becomes a hobby, which means no more write-offs, and write-offs really aren't as special as they're made to sound anyway, because there's just, in my situation, the numbers just aren't big enough for it to make much of a difference. Q4 leading up to Christmas is quite nice, but January and February aren't as far as ad revenue goes. So to put this into better perspective, let's say I just got a casual part-time job as a greeter at Walmart, making $15 an hour. All that requires is transportation. I clock in, clock out, get a paycheck, and I'm significantly further ahead. So in reality, all those free balls cost me quite a bit of money. And yes, the temptation to do clickbait and spam my content all over groups on Facebook, start my own merch line, and start doing crazy entertainment videos is real. And again, I'm not taking a shot at anyone who does any of that whatsoever, because I, of all people, understand exactly what the alternative is. And bowling doesn't have to be, like I said, serious technical and instructional videos. We need the fun and entertaining videos just as much. I'm not taking shots at the companies either. I'm perfectly happy with the arrangement, and I wouldn't want to be paid or reimbursed anyway, because that's a conflict of interest. This is just the way that it has to work. So when people wonder why I don't have more subs or get more traffic, this is why. I know exactly what I could do to bump my numbers and have a successful and lucrative channel, or make more beneficial use of my time in the first place, but that's not my lane. I don't know how much longer this is going to last, or how much longer I'm going to put up with it anyway. I certainly do have my own little niche that continues to kind of work, but I'd also like to be able to just go watch a movie or play golf, or watch football all Sunday, or smoke some stuff for a couple baseball games or a week or whatever. But instead, I'm chained to the computer and busy enough with ball reviews that I don't have much time to get into anything else, and any kind of coaching or instructional videos are also so much more involved than just making a ball review anyway, plus they don't get the views. The only ones that really succeed well on the views are ball reviews, or the stuff that's really basic and clickbaity, like how to get more revs on the ball, or how to throw it harder, or hook the lane for bigger scores. Nobody really cares about anything else, and a lot of stuff is hard to show on video anyway. I've tried to do instructional videos on shot shape and early versus late and chuggy versus rolly versus whatever else to illustrate what I'm talking about, and it's virtually impossible. That's why I put so much effort in the reviews that I write, and why I still write them in the first place. Most balls on most videos are going to go down the lane and hook, and the easiest differences to see are hook and back end, but balls that are similar on both can be very different about how they get there, which zones they like playing in, so on and so forth, but it's hard to see on video. The stealth mode and the hammerhead are very similar on strength and friction response, but shaped differently. They prefer playing different zones on the lane, but it's really hard to show you that in a video. I just have to tell you. I don't write, this is the reason I don't write reviews before I cut up the footage anymore, because I don't know how many times I'd film a couple balls, feel like they were very different, write the review, and then go to cut up or edit the footage and see comparison balls doing virtually the same thing on video, even though they feel very different. So I would actually encourage you to take some balls that you feel a fairly large difference in, play all over the lane with them, videoed of course, and then compare the footage. I guarantee they'll look a lot more similar than they'll feel. Or beyond that, just take a month. Try to make your own ball reviews with balls you already own, and don't even go whole hog. Just use free editing software, free Photoshop sites. Just try to make one a week. And if you, if you want to say, well, I don't have any deals for this or that, or none of it, I don't, I have a center that's going to put down a pattern for me or whatever else. Like, none of us had any of that either. We all started from square one. So it's really easy to look at someone else who's put years or even decades of work in and into getting where they're at, and then saying, oh man, look what they have. They're luckier. It must be nice, because you're just seeing the result and not the process. Again, when I started out with Storm, I was an advisory staffer for Storm only. I couldn't throw rotogrip. I got 0 Storm bucks, so everything I bought was out of pocket. I also had 0 clue about editing or Photoshop or YouTube or algorithms or anything else. I had to learn every bit of it from the ground up by myself, just reading articles and watching instructional videos. So, see what it takes you if you're not, if you're not in that space. See what it takes you to figure out editing or Photoshop. See what it's like trying to coordinate getting your center to put down a fresh condition for you to film on. See what it's like trying to negotiate a cheaper rate for drilling, or even check into getting your own drilling rig and setup. See how expensive that is. See what it's like trying to get a YouTube channel off the ground, and take a look at what it takes to even be able to qualify to put ads on your videos in the first place. Take it seriously, even for a month, and just slopping something together doesn't count. Put stuff together that you'd actually want to watch and think is quality enough to actually get views and gain a following, and then see how badly you want to burn it all down and dance in the ashes after finding out what an awful experience it is. So, I've rambled on enough, and there's still even more to say, believe it or not. 50 minutes could have been 5 hours, but there's a reason that videos might seem too simple, or that you don't see multiple balls or layouts or bowlers in videos, or that people use clickbait, or that people just make entertainment videos, or that they put ads everywhere, or have sponsors, or their own merch line, or spam their videos all over social media. It takes a lot to even put out what I do, let alone anything beyond that. And again, I'm not looking for sympathy or pats on the back or whatever else, because they don't pay the bills, and I'm not trolling for tips either. And I hope you noticed that I don't think I was mad or ranty throughout all of this. I really do have a firm grasp on the situation, and everything I'm doing is being done knowingly and intentionally. Doing it this way is my choice, and whenever I want things to change, I'll change them, or either generate more money or just retire. I kind of just really want my time back. Like I said, I'm in my 40s now. I don't get to watch sports or hang out or barbecue on weekends or whatever else. I work one job all day, and then I have another job I do all night and on weekends. And occasionally I get to watch a show or play a game, and that's kind of it. But hey, I get free bowling balls, right? That's what everybody wants out of working 80 hours a week for 25 solid years. I've finally arrived and can be happy with my life because I get comps and bowling balls. So if you made it this far, thanks for sticking it out. I hope it was interesting and you took it in the spirit intended. And again, I've got the best viewer base in the industry, and that's an actual fact. So I know that I expect that you guys will all get this and understand this and appreciate it. So I know that I'm really preaching to the choir here. And like I said, if you compare what happens in my comment section to what happened in everybody else's comment section, there's no comparison. And so thanks tons and tons, everybody, and we'll just see what happens next. So thanks for watching, and may the strikes be with you.